Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a statement for the record, and I'll submit that, and have some questions. Mr. Perciasepe, you're the acting administrator, and I actually have a hold on the nominated administrator based on a commitment from the administration that they made in February to Senator McCaskill and I that they would just agree, they would see that the organizations involved in coming up with the environmental impact study for a project in southeast Missouri would agree to the facts by March the 15th. They set the deadline. We didn't ask for the deadline. The call on March the 15th was, well, we can't get this done by the day we said we would get it done. And one of the, and we've had no outreach from EPA in our office at all. I don't know how many senators have holds on the nominee, but it must be so many that there's no interest in doing anything about the holds that are out there. Principally, there are a couple of concerns on this topic. One is the estimate of wetlands that your organization came up with was originally 118,000 acres. The USDA said it was 500 acres. Fish and Wildlife said it was somewhere in between. You said 118,000 acres. And then eventually, I think the last estimate that you all have made is 5,000 acres, which is an interesting, the difference in 118,000 and 5,000, your own estimate is intriguing to me. And then you created a new category of wetlands that's not defined anywhere else in federal law, which is, quote, wetlands in agricultural areas. I have two or three questions on this. One, why do you think the wetlands determinations from your agency have been so different on this one project?
I haven't looked at those particular numbers, but I can, when you just mentioned agriculture, there are prior converted wetlands that are not covered under certain, they're not covered under the Clean Water Act. Somebody could have been adding those in and the original one, and now they're looking at different ones.
Do you know if the agency has provided any recent information to the Corps on this topic or not?
We have going back to the original part of your question, we
Yes.
have ongoing conversations with the Corps, and what I think I can commit to you, Senator, is that the next critical step in this, in addition to the information, is that the Corps of Engineers needs to put together the EIS document.
Right.
And
right.
I think what we're all working on very hard is to get the Corps to get whatever information they need so they can get that document done, and then we will respond as quickly as we will respond right away. Our regional administrator is prepared to do that, and we want to move quickly once we get that document. So people are working on this, and I can provide more information.
Yeah, I want you and my colleagues to both understand that this is not about trying to force a project to be built or anything else. It's just trying to get the government to quit arguing with the government. This is trying to get the government to agree on the facts, which doesn't seem, actually it seemed to the administration a simple enough project that they thought it could be done well over a month ago. And this is after a couple of years of why is this not getting done? Well, we don't agree on the facts. We just like the government to agree on the facts of whatever you can do.
I will.
And of course you could, if it's left up to me in this issue, you could be the acting administrator forever. Maybe you're very popular at the agency and they just don't want to respond to these pretty simple questions.
Well, our role in this is to review the work that the Corps of Engineers does. We're not the one doing the EIS, but as soon as we'll help them get it done. As soon as they get it done, we'll do the comments on it. That's the normal way we reconcile things, is get that EIS process going. So I think that's the key here.
And you would have ultimate authority on the wetlands question based on this veto potential that you always have on issue like this. Is that right?
Under the Clean Water Act, EPA writes the guidelines, which we've done many years ago, on how to make the wetlands determinations, and so the Corps uses those guidelines to do it. And there are some agricultural converted wetlands that are not part of that process. They may be something that somebody will analyze in an environmental impact statement, but they're not part of the Clean Water Act process.
But you can veto these projects even while they're going on, based on what I think I just heard you say to Ms. Senator McCaskey?
I think that's an untested. What the senator was referring to was a court decision yesterday that was related to a veto after a project had already been permitted, not in advance of it.
So you have no question you could veto it before. What's the open question, whether you could veto it after or not?
All the times that we have used the veto authority that's under, and really it is, the authority is actually to remove a section of water from being able to have fill materials discharged into it, but we use this common word of veto, which I don't think is actually in the Act. But all the times it's been used, to my memory, and I could double check this for the record, has been after a permit has been issued.
And before work has begun, or you know?
If you want detail on all the times it's been used, I'll have to get
I
it for
do.
the record.
I
don't have that.
I want detail on all the times it's been used, and look forward to you providing that. And I think we're going to have a second round of questions later, Chairman. Thanks, Chairman. I want to get to news source review in a minute. I didn't intend to talk about this, but Senator Johan's questions were the answers were particularly troubling to me. Where do you think you have the authority to fly over people's property and see if they're doing anything wrong?
You know, I'm not really prepared to do some kind of legal analysis here, Senator, but I would say that the general authority that EPA has to inspect, to implement the laws that Congress has passed, are what we're also trying to be efficient. We're trying to only use our scarce resources in places where there appears to be some problem, and I don't know why that concept is difficult. I think we can understand that concept. I think the issue, which I think the senator made it more clear to me than I've heard before, is that people who feel like they are not a problem, why are they having something fly over their house? And so, I mean, I think I would think a guy from upstate New York would understand that if you thought about it for very long. I lived in the dairy countries. Exactly. My mom and dad were dairy farmers. I understand that whole concept of the government and you, but now you can't just walk onto somebody's property, can you, because you think they might be doing something wrong, or can you? I don't know the answer to that. And you said it's not like you were spying on people. What term would you use? We were looking for where there may be animals and their waste in the water. So we're not looking at people at all. So you're spying on animals? Well, we're looking to see where we would send inspectors to see if there was a problem of water pollution. So I don't know that the animals are what we're spying on. We're looking at the conditions that could be creating water quality violations. Yeah, I work for almost 6 million people. I'm trying to figure out how many more than 5 million of them would be concerned by this, but I think at least 5 million of them would say, I really don't like the sense of that the EPA can do things that, I don't know, that law enforcement without any reason can just fly around. Maybe they can. It's troublesome to me, and I don't want to use all my time on this, but I think you should if I was going to sequester something at the EPA, I think I'd sequester the surveillance flying around at the top of the list. I wouldn't want to be trying to justify that if I couldn't get a permit issued for somebody to do something that creates private sector jobs, for instance.
would be my sense. On, I saw a report just came out from George Washington University that the regulatory rules from the federal government in 2012, by their own estimate, exceeded the cost of the entire first term of the two preceding presidents. That the regulatory rules in 2012, by the administration's estimate, exceeded the cost of the first terms of each of President Bush and President Clinton. And one of those rules, this new source review standard, it looks like, I don't know how you could possibly build a coal plant. Our state, I think we're number 6 in the country. We're 82% or so dependent on coal. I guess you can't build a plant without carbon capture storage. Do you believe that that's commercially feasible today, carbon capture storage?
Let me make sure I know which rule you're talking about.
I'm talking about the new source performance standards
for electric generating.
Right, exactly.
Well, I was actually co-chair with the Department of Energy on the carbon capture and storage report that we did to the president.
Oh, good. Well, you're a good guy to ask this question.
Back in the thing, and the simple answer is that all the pieces of that technology exist. People use it now. People use it now for enhanced oil recovery projects and things of that nature. But having it all together in a package is not, other than the pieces, is not been constructed except in demonstration projects. So one of the things that proposal did, and I have to say that we received a lot of comments on that proposal, I think 2.7 million comments on that proposal, and that's why we're taking our time to look at that, and we haven't finalized that rule yet. And so it'll be some time that we have to continue to look at those comments and figure out some of the issues that you're bringing up. But one of the things we did in that proposal is provide a long averaging period, like 30 years, so taking into account the potential of that type of evolution of technology. However, we did get a lot of comment on that as well, Senator, and I think that's what, that's among many things that we're looking at before we would finalize that.
Well, one of the things I'm sure you've been asked to study is just the overall question of, is this a rule that if the rule is promulgated, it absolutely prohibits future activity in this area? And if carbon capture is not commercially realistic, what you're really saying, if you move forward with this rule that you've had lots of other people comment on already, is can't build a coal-fired plant in the country. Go ahead.
I wouldn't make that complete conclusion because of the averaging concept that we put in there. What we have to determine is whether or not that is a feasible approach to dealing with the diversity of fuels that are out there. So I recognize that some people view it the way you've recognized it, and we've certainly got tons of comment on that. So we have to look at, the idea is if the technology is not available now, and we know all the pieces are there, when would it be available, and how do you build that into the future? So we have to continue to work on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.